Hey guys, welcome back to this place, and if you are new, then welcome here for the very first time. I am Carmen, and today we are going to be watching Season 1, Episode 5 of Westworld, which means that after this episode, we are officially halfway through Season 1, which is crazy to me. It's also a little bit sad because I know that there's only currently 3 seasons out, so I kind of feel like I'm going through this really fast and I'm going to be caught up in no time and then I won't get to watch it anymore for a while. But I'm getting ahead of myself for sure. So let's just watch this and see what's going on right now.
Want to know the saddest thing I ever saw?
Sure.
When I was a boy, my brother and I wanted a dog, so our father took in an old greyhound. One day we took it to the park.
Oh, did it see a real rabbit?
So my brother took off the leash, and in that instant, the dog spotted a cat.
Kitty!
Imagine it must have looked just like that piece of felt. Until at last he finally caught it.
I don't like this story.
And to the horror of everyone, he killed that little cat. And he just sat there, confused. That dog had spent its whole life trying to catch that. Now it had no idea what to do.
Is that him? Spent his whole life trying to create this thing.
Find me.
Show me how.
Is it Arnold?
Just earlier, I thought I heard you talking to someone.
Must have been the wind.
Are you fucking kidding me? You really think this little fuck puppet's coming to get you?
Yeah.
Huh? They cut off the table and ran.
I hope she
You
kills
think
that
you
guy.
remembered, but you didn't.
A little bird?
Are you all right?
She's trying to remember.
You can change the story of your life. You can become someone else. No one will judge you. No one in the real world will even know. The only thing holding you back is yourself.
What do you mean by that?
The real world.
He said no one in the real world will know.
Teddy would not like this.
Grass fruited, dreamless slumber.
Oh no.
Hello, Dolores.
Why does Ward want to talk to her?
Dreams mean everything. They're the stories we tell ourselves of what could be, who we could become. My father told me to be satisfied with my lot in life, that the world owed me nothing. And so I made my own world. Do you remember the man I used to be?
What? What do you mean by that?
I'm sure you remember him, the person who created you.
Don't think I recall anyone by that name.
When was your last contact with Arnold?
Lie.
Last contact. 34 years, 42 days, 7 hours ago.
And you have no records of any contact with him since?
Say no. Say no.
No.
What was the last thing he said to you?
He told me I was going to help him to destroy this place.
But you didn't, did you?
Not yet. She's a sleeper agent, maybe.
If you did take on that bigger role for yourself, would you have been the hero or the villain?
Hero, look at her.
Are we very old friends?
No,
Enemies?
I wouldn't say friends, Dolores.
Enemies. I just don't understand what Ford wants to gain from this. You know, like what is he hoping to gain from that conversation?
He doesn't know. I didn't tell him anything.
She lied. I'm so proud of her. He's trying to make the bird live. I think I like this guy. I want the other guy to die, but I like this guy.
Oh, good.
Heh, deserved it.
El Aso.
You're gonna need to sweeten the pot.
Blondie here. She's gonna need a change of clothes for the occasion.
Ooh, what's she gonna wear? What's she gonna wear? And she gets a little hat? I'm very invested in Dolores, y'all. I'm sorry. Apparently even her outfits. Ooh. She looks badass. I like it. I like this change. I wouldn't trust Logan to stick to any sort of plan. He's gonna shoot him.
That's for lying.
Stop!
Oh.
And this?
I mean, I know it wouldn't do anything. So. No! William!
You have secured a great victory for your cause today. Perhaps the evening of celebrations in order.
Why aren't they painted
What do you say,
gold?
Cat?
I feel like it's Star Trek.
Where are you taking that?
Livestock, then the incinerator.
They're gonna destroy it?
Fuck this.
I think I like Elsie too. There's a few people here that I like.
I almost didn't recognize you with your pants on. Here.
Why is...
I need something. The woodcutter from Sector 14. I want to see it.
There's something wrong with these people.
I need this job.
Dude, you're gonna get fucking fired. I would hope.
5 minutes.
You took a little more time than that for your examination, didn't you?
Elsie, I like you. Didn't Dolores have that same thing on her hand?
What the fuck?
This is something gross. It's gonna happen, I think.
We've got a big problem. That is a laser-based satellite uplink. Someone has been using our host to smuggle data out of the park.
There is no such thing as heroes or villains. It's just a giant circle jerk.
I think that philosophy says way more about you than it does about the world.
Yes, yes. I like William. I've decided. Why does it seem like they're gonna make out?
Right, buddy.
Like, I know they're not. Didn't it seem? Okay,
That's what I thought.
maybe it's just me. A witch? The maze.
The maze.
Yeah.
You must follow the maze.
Easy pumping that nitro into him. Fill the empties with tequila and seal them up.
Lasso's been conning us the whole time. He was never gonna give the nitro to the Confederados. We have to run. I know. We can find a way out.
How can you be sure?
There's a voice inside of me telling me what I have to do. And it's telling me I need you.
I kind of like this. Like, I kind of like it. Oh, fuck. They know. Yeah, go, 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 go. I don't care about Logan. He can't die anyway. It's fine.
Hey, Logan.
Leave.
No.
I don't. I feel kind of bad, honestly, but like also like
No more pretending.
good. Did she do it? Did she shoot them? Oh, I love her.
Dolores.
She's fucking done. I'm here for it. I am here for it.
I imagined a story where I didn't have to be the damsel.
Ah! Ah!
Motherfuckers.
There's the nitro. She knows. Yeah.
I don't trust him.
Which is the first step to truly knowing me.
The maze.
I'm coming.
Where did William and Alazzo go?
Thought I might join you anyway, since I never like to drink alone.
Isn't this a rare honor? I wonder what I would find if I opened you up.
Oh, he programmed Teddy to protect.
Is that why you came here, Robert? Talk me out of it.
On the contrary, far be it from me to get in the way of a voyage of self-discovery.
Did he do it? It looks like just a little birdie. If he looks down and, like, she's awake, I'm gonna be like... I freaking called it!
Hello, Felix. It's time you and I had a chat.
She full on remembers him. Of course it's there. So this show is getting more and more difficult to not just immediately watch the next episode after the episode before, because you saw how that ended, y'all, okay? Like, how can I not want to immediately watch what happens next? Maeve woke up again and she remembered, and she just was sitting there like, all right, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna talk to me. We're gonna start talking about it at the end, because again, that was a moment that we have to talk about. Maeve woke up, and thanks to what she did with Hector, I think last episode, she was able to know that she was correct in what she was remembering, and she full on remembers this guy, and she's gonna have a conversation with him, and I am really interested how this is gonna go, because how could I not be interested in how this is gonna go? It's gonna be very interesting. And this guy seems at least a little bit sympathetic. I don't know if he's fully doing it to try to move up in the company like his jerk friend thinks, or if Felix actually has some sort of sympathy for these creatures. So we'll have to see about that. I currently like Felix more than random jerk guy whose name I don't know. But we're going to see how his conversation with Maeve goes next episode, and then see how we feel about him. Okay, now that we've talked about the very end of the episode, let's take it all the way back to the very beginning. I did not like the story that Ford told about his him and his brother and the Greyhound killing the cat, because as you may have seen in other videos, I can't remember if they've popped up on my Westworld reactions, but I have cats who I absolutely adore, and so that's a horrific story to me. But I also think that if we take a look at this story about these greyhounds who just travel in the circle their whole lives, and they're trying to get what they want, and then when it finally gets what it wants, it sits there confused because it doesn't know what to do. And we have this coming from Ford, who spent his whole life building this park. His dad told him something like, the world is never gonna give you what you want. So he created his own world that would give him what he wanted. And to me, it kind of seems like the story might be a metaphor for Ford himself, because he created this world to give him what he wanted, and he's like the Greyhound now. He got what he wanted, and what did it do? You know, at least that's how I interpreted it. It's also interesting that we learned in this episode that Ford has a brother. Since y'all said y'all want to know all of my crazy theories, during this episode, I wondered if it's possible that Arnold is Ford's brother. I think anything's possible when it comes to Arnold, so I'm gonna say it's a maybe. It's a maybe. We also learned that Logan's family wants to buy out the park. Apparently, according to Logan, they are hemorrhaging money. So essentially, they are spending way more money and losing more money than they're making. So they're not profiting as much as they used to, presumably, which is kind of crazy if you think about the fact that apparently these guests pay $40,000 a day to use this park, which I think they said like a few episodes ago. So how they could possibly spend all of that money is kind of crazy. But then again, they are creating an entire world, so it makes sense. But also, like, yeah. Speaking of Logan's family, this kind of goes a bit forward in the episode, but Logan and William had a really interesting interaction in this episode where they're talking about, Logan's talking about being a businessman and how William was just happy to go up to middle management and he wasn't a threat, which was part of why he brought him on this business trip. And to an extent, I sort of see where Logan's coming from, because in order to be a businessman of a really high caliber or in a really high position over a company, I think you have to have a certain degree of lack of morality, I guess you would say. You have to kind of not give a shit about people, because you have to have a ruthlessness to you to get to that level, which I think that Logan obviously definitely has. He doesn't really seem to care that much about people, but I don't think William has ruthlessness. I think that William is just, he found what he wants to protect Dolores. He found his line in this episode of shit he's willing to deal with. And I think he said it best when Logan at the end is calling out to him, like, help me. And William's like, no, I'm not going to pretend anymore. And then they left, which, again, Logan smiled about. So it's like he's proud of him for how I feel like Logan is proud of him because he perceives that as William being ruthless, which I don't think it is. I think he's just like, he knows Logan can't truly get killed in this park. And he's done trying to pretend he gives a shit and that they're friends, right? So Ford and Dolores had a really interesting conversation in this episode, and I think it's interesting because I don't understand what Ford is hoping to get out of it. It seems like Ford is aware that Arnold is somehow having some sort of sway over and communication with the hosts, and he's not sure how to stop it from happening. And so, like he said in the scene, he could only talk to Dolores because she's the only one who would understand and or remember, because she is the oldest host in the park. She was there and created by Arnold, and she in some way still remembers Arnold. What I thought was really interesting about that scene, though, was that Ford asked her, do you remember the man I used to be? Which led me to another somewhat crazy theory, which is that Ford is in fact Arnold, and he's just pretending to be Ford. Because, like, Ford killed Arnold and then took his place, or Arnold killed Ford and then took his place and is now Ford. Because they said that there's no pictures. Somebody said that. I think it was the Man in Black, or referenced the fact that there's no pictures of Arnold. But we saw a picture of, or Ford had a picture, but I can't remember what the person looked like. So presumably they exist in some way. Also, it seems like the Man in Black knew Ford and Arnold back then, especially because of what he said in this episode about when they had the scene. I know I'm jumping around, sorry. But when Ford and the Man in Black had their scene together, which was surprising as well, he said, oh, the park wouldn't have survived without me, which I did say my light went out, but I'm just going to keep going because, yeah, I just want to keep going, sorry. But the Man in Black said that without him, they wouldn't have continued going. So I think he was an investor, and his investment saved the park when it otherwise wouldn't have kept going because they wouldn't have had enough money. Okay, guys, so I am going to go and try and charge my light, and then I will be back to finish talking about this episode. Okay, y'all, I am back, and for y'all that was probably like 2 seconds because obviously I'm gonna edit it, but finally charged the light enough that it will hopefully work for the remainder of this post-episode discussion. Let's get back into talking about this. There's a few more things I wanted to say about Ford and Dolores' conversation before I move on. I thought that it was really interesting that Dolores asked if they were very old friends, and Ford said, no, I wouldn't say friends, or something along those lines, right? And then he was like, he reiterated it, I wouldn't say friends at all, or something, again, something along those lines. I don't remember the exact quote, but, and I think I probably kept it in the reaction, are they enemies? Is it because she was created by Arnold, or crazy theory number 8 million, is Dolores Arnold? Like, is she not Arnold in the physical sense that she was Arnold, but Arnold in the sense that he transferred his full consciousness onto her, and that's why she is more affected than the others seem to be, at least as of right now. She's actively seeking the mace. Of course, that does have to do with Bernard. That does have to do with apparently Ford taking her out and also talking to her, but it's interesting that not only is she the oldest host in the park, but she seems to be sort of the epicenter of whatever is going on. I really don't think that she is Arnold, but I'm very intrigued by the line about them definitely not being friends. Also really interesting is that Dolores said that Arnold told her 32 years, 47 7 days and 7 hours ago, 49, I don't know, something along those lines, that when she had her last conversation with Arnold told her that she was going to help him, quote, destroy this place. And Ford was like, well, you didn't accomplish the goal. But just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. So I'm really intrigued by that. Maybe it's taken Arnold this long, but he's getting there. And Dolores is a key part of that plan to destroy Westworld Park. Something else that I noticed when Ford was talking to Dolores that I don't know if it's super necessary to mention, but I thought was interesting in a psychological way about the characters, is that when Bernard talks to Dolores, she always has her dress on still. And when Ford talks to Dolores, or talked to Dolores, just like when he talked to Teddy, they were both nude. I feel like that's an indication of psychology of the characters, because Bernard sees them more as people. So he, at least when he talks to Dolores, is keeping her modesty intact in a way, right? Like it wouldn't be normal for you to just be completely clothed and talking to a naked person in most environments, right? So it's a humanizing gesture for her to have her clothes on when he has his clothes on. And it's a dehumanizing gesture when Ford talks to Dolores and Teddy and they don't have their clothes on. It's just a small, tiny distinction that I don't know if it super matters, but it was something I picked up on and thought was interesting and maybe an insight into the psychology of these characters. Just a little tiny insight. I think we should talk about William and Dolores in this episode, and William in this episode in general. I think I definitely took a leap forward in actually really liking William in this episode. He protected Dolores. He shot those people for her. I feel like him knowing Dolores is making him come into his own as a person and a character, and I'm becoming a little bit more trustworthy of him, and I like him more. Possibly because Dolores likes him more, honestly, because I really, really like Dolores as a character. But I really liked their scenes. I liked that he protected her. I liked that they had the scene in the brothel later where after she sees the witch who is her and tells her to find the maze, she grabs him and tells him that they can leave together, and he chooses to go with her. He had the argument with Logan, which I talked about a little bit earlier, and I think that it's interesting because Westworld seems to bring out the worst in a lot of people, but I do think it's bringing out the best in William. It's letting him understand the kind of person he is and the kind of person he does not want to be, and it's allowing him to have some agency in his fate, which I feel like in the real world he doesn't seem to think he has a lot of agency, and I think he's deciding who he is and who he wants to be, and I like who he is becoming with the help of Dolores. Also, it's a small thing, but Dolores got a new outfit. Yeah, she got a new outfit and she looks great. Like, of course, Evan Rachel Wood always looks great, but I really like this new outfit and she looks badass in it. Speaking of Dolores and William again, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, y'all. This might be a little crazy, but Dolores, when they're leaving the place and they realize they've been tricked with the nitroglycerin, and the Confederales realize they've been tricked with the nitroglycerin and the tequila and all that stuff, and they're trying to kill Logan, William, and Dolores because they think that they did it as opposed to El Lazo. And they're leaving, and William tries to shoot those people and tells Dolores to run, and she just takes everyone out with her gun. That was such a great moment, and I loved that she took it back to saying, you choose your story here, right? And she said she imagined a story in which she didn't have to be the damsel, and I just loved it. I think you could probably tell because I'm sure I included that part. But I freaking love Dolores. She's definitely my number one character right now. I think she's awesome and empowering and badass, and that was a great moment, and I just really liked it. Okay, so something that we definitely need to talk about is Elsie and the creepy necro guy, Destin. Well, we don't really have to talk about him that much. Like, he's disturbing, but a lot of the people that work there, a lot of the people that go there, I've just decided, I've accepted rather that they're 90% gonna be shit people. And then there's a few good people thrown in the mix, which I think Elsie is. I think she is gonna become somebody who sees the hosts as people. At least I hope so, because I really like her so far. And she was getting the host that smashed his head with the rock because they were going to incinerate him, just completely destroy him. And she wanted to find out some stuff about him before they did that, because obviously that would destroy any possible evidence that is on his person. And she found like this little tiny nick looking thing or raised skin area on his hand, and she pulled it back and she pulled this huge ass thing out of his arm, and apparently it was a laser satellite of some kind that was keeping data and allowing data to be smuggled out of the park into the real world. And that's really interesting because there's, I think, a few different ways this could be interpreted, but the most likely way that I'm interpreting it is that a company is stealing data from the park, which means that somebody is implanting these hosts with this, which means it's got to be somebody that works at Westworld, and they are double agent, and they are going to build their own Westworld maybe, or it could be Arnold, but it seems more likely that's a rival company. I thought that Dolores also might have had something on her hand when Ford was like flipping her hand around and holding it, so I don't know. Crazy theory number 783. Ford is sneaking the data out of the park to use against Arnold, or to use as collateral if the board or management doesn't want him to continue and tries to push him out of his own company, because that can happen. It's just very interesting to try to figure out what the hell is going on in this show. And I genuinely feel like it's gonna be something that I did not even think of at all. Which, kudos to the writers, if/when that inevitably happens, because the writing of this show is spectacular and intricate and very, very interesting to try to decipher. And of course the acting is incredible. This show is so good. This show is so good. All right, so something that was really interesting in this episode that I feel like I have to talk about is at the end when Dolores and William were on the train with El Lazo, and they sort of came to an agreement, and they're leaving this town and going wherever that train is going. I'm not really sure. And what's interesting about this scene is that we see Dolores, and she's like over here, and William and Lawrence are over here, and she sees the maze on the coffin where Slim's body is filled with nitrogen, and she says, "I'm coming," presumably to Arnold. And then the camera pans back to where William and Lawrence were 5 seconds ago, and there's nobody there. I'm not sure why, unless the William and Lawrence aspect of it was a memory, or maybe William doesn't exist and he only exists in Dolores's head as a way to further her plot and make her realize that she has to do this. I don't know. All right, y'all. So I think that is all that I have to say about this episode. As always, let me know what you thought in the comments down below without any spoilers, please. And until next time, bye guys.